what is up, friends, or should I say friendos, to my review for Clown in a Cornfield. I know, not the most original title, but we make do with what we're given, I guess. But what is the movie actually about? So basically it's described as looking for a fresh start. Quinn and her father move to a quiet town of Kettle Springs. As the locals bicker amongst themselves and tensions boil over, a sinister, grinning clown emerges from the cornfields to cleanse the town of its burdens. Now that entire thing is a very lengthy and wordy way of saying it's a clown slasher. I mean, we've seen this movie made 100 times. And this movie, I think, is a little bit different than other ones without giving anything away, because it starts off very generic, but it switches into something I had a lot more fun with when you get to that point. You've seen the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. Getting to that point, fairly generic in my opinion. Now, I guess this is based on a book, so I don't have a frame of reference for anything that's going on in the movie. When it comes to slasher movies, I don't want to say you have to have really good characters, but you have to have somebody to latch onto that makes the movie experience, like who you can root for, who you want to get killed. And we find out early on that Quinn, the main character of this one, has friends who enjoy making little horror shorts in which Frendo the Clown is a serial killer, which the town believes led to this mill catching on fire. The characters in this movie are just the most generic archetype ever of these rebellious teenagers you just hope get slaughtered eventually. You really don't care about any of these characters. It feels like something I've seen a bunch of times in my life as a fan of this subgenre, so I can have fun with it, but it's not lost on me that the average moviegoer who's not crazy about these types of movies is probably going to feel like, all right, we've seen this so many times. And I was actually really worried about this movie for a couple of reasons. I saw people comparing Frendo to Art the Clown. Now, do I think Frendo is cool, and do I think he has some horror icon behind him? Yeah, I think he's actually really cool. He looks cool, his mannerisms, some of the kills and the way they set that up, I had a lot of fun with. But again, pump the brakes. This is not a Terrifier thing. This is not Art the Clown. I don't see people dressing up as Frendo. I feel like this movie's probably going to be pretty forgettable in the grand scheme of things. The second thing being, this is called Clown in a Cornfield. So I already don't think this movie's going to do very well, because if I didn't hear great things about this, if I wasn't obsessed with horror films, this feels like a movie that would go straight to Tubi based on everything I've seen about it, besides the things I've heard that are actually surprisingly really good. And I also didn't watch the trailer before this, because as I say over and over again in my reviews, trailers just give away way too much nowadays, so I avoid them like the plague. This movie's trailer gives away way too much. Like, it gives away a ton of stuff. A lot of the cool kills, a lot of the setup, some of the things where it goes you don't really understand based on the trailer at the time of seeing it, but when you watch the movie it will kind of come together. So a lot of stuff was worrying me about this movie. But ignoring the runaway hype train that this movie has become, I did have a good time with it. I think when you do get into the movie and it starts to kind of function, it's fun enough for what it is if you know what you get going into it. B-movie slasher involving a clown in a small town with a cornfield. And I think the thing that's going to set this movie apart, as I said a little bit earlier, is it does become something fairly unique as the movie goes on. So I do respect that. Whenever a movie goes for a swing of that sort, I will always commend it. Whether it works or not fully, that's up to your interpretation. But I think at least attempting to go there at a time where it feels like creativity has been completely stifled, always going to give you the benefit of the doubt. There's also a couple of scenes in this movie I really enjoyed, especially the opening scene. It's definitely paying homage to Jaws, the way they set this scene up. But whenever a movie attempts to do that and pay respect to the movies that came before it and inspired it, I also appreciate that as well. So as I said, there's some good stuff here. I have absolutely no idea if this movie was inspired by Scream or any of the source material from that book. And I know it's starting to sound a little bit tropey to even mention Scream, because it feels like every slasher whodunit nowadays gets compared to that movie. It's so iconic. But this movie, like a lot of the ones recently, you can't help but compare it. It feels like that movie, and it feels like it drew a lot of inspiration for that. The way the movie's structured, some of the humor bits that are going on with it, just the way the whole whodunit aspect is going. One killer, maybe even possible killers at certain points. So again, I think this entire structure of a film really is going to depend on if you find anything I'm explaining to be derivative, if it feels like you've seen that movie a bunch of times, because we've gotten so many of these movies recently, Hard Eyes and this, that all kind of feel tonally the same but different in their own ways. But I preface one final time, temper your expectations when it comes to this film, because if you're like me, you've heard a crazy amount of buzz with this film, runaway train of hype. Things saying this is like the new iconic slasher, and I don't think that's the case at all. But if you are a fan of this genre, I can almost guarantee you're probably going to have a good time with this movie, because it looks fairly good. Creative kills at points, even though, as I said, avoid the trailer like the plague. It gives away a lot of the good stuff, but this is not something you're going to write home about and just change your life whatsoever. It's just an homage, a throwback to classic slashers, which I'm pretty adamant in my channel. I enjoy because we don't get a whole lot of them anymore. So overall, I had a good time with this film, but I also understand that I'm pretty biased towards this subgenre. I'm open with you guys, and I mean, this movie would have to have really sucked for me to have not enjoyed it. Yeah, overall, I had a good time with this one. And my apologies if this feels a little bit vague. Between the trailer and where this movie ends up going, I really wanted you guys to get an authentic experience so you can enjoy what I believe this movie's trying to be. But if you guys do get around to seeing this one, comment down below, let me know what you think. Did you guys see Clown in a Cornfield, or are you going to avoid it because it just sounds way too generic? But as always, comment, subscribe, like the video down below. It all really helps the channel, but I will see you in the next review. Peace!